we are starting today with the WNBA star Brittney Griner, who's being held in Russia on drug charges. Now, as you may have heard, Brittney Griner pleaded guilty to those charges yesterday, saying she unintentionally brought vape cartridges with cannabis oil into the country because she packed in a hurry and never intended to break the law. Brittney entered the courtroom carrying a picture of her wife. She also received a letter before her hearing from President Biden. Now, Brittney's legal team explained that she pleaded guilty in the hopes that she'll get a lighter sentence. She now faces a potential 10 years in prison. Of course, diplomatic efforts are doing everything they can to free her. At least we hope they are, with some experts saying her best hope is a prisoner swap. When you saw this, Lindsay, when you saw her even carrying her wife, which, let's be real honest, if you're not familiar with the laws in Russia, it is illegal to be quote-unquote homosexual. So for her to walk in there with a picture of her wife and being black and queer, that alone is a dangerous situation. But what are your thoughts?
I first was surprised to hear her plead guilty. I know that is something that she's probably advised by her team, but I think, to now we're validating what we've been saying is untrue from Russia, that they were holding her against her will or against any real charges. So now she's kind of validating that, but it seems like she was advised to do that in exchange for her freedom in some way. And I think, it's dangerous because we might set a precedent where we'll tell them, okay, we'll let go of somebody that we have locked up over here for doing some egregious crime, and you let her go for 2 cartridges of marijuana or cannabis. And it's not an equal trade, but it causes other countries to maybe look at us and say, oh, if we hold their hostages or someone hostage that they care about, maybe we'll get what we want. And so, but I do think it's really important to get Brittney back here. I think as a black woman, it's really important to say that she matters to us and get her back here. So Biden can't put this to the wayside like many people have accused him of doing.
Yeah. I mean, Brittney Griner played in the Olympics. She's an Olympian. She represented our country. She's famous. I knew Brittney Griner, just because I love hoops. She dunked in a real game, effortlessly. And I was like, this is 7 or 8 years ago. So she's been on my radar for a long time. And I look at this situation. I feel like we're all a little tepid talking about it because we understand the United States half of it. But you've traveled internationally a ton. We all have. Every country is so different in terms of what is legal, what is legal. Our states, we have differences. But when you start talking about other countries, I don't know how serious Russia takes.
But hold on, I got it.
Yes.
Listen, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to make it really crystal clear. I think what Lindsay said is something that we all need to understand before we hear more details, and we may never know those details. According to some formerly detained Americans in Russia that have since been freed, they have since spoken out saying, this is the way it works, and I'm just paraphrasing. They say in order to be released, because if you remember back in May, the USA did their own independent investigation looking at those videos, and they deemed her illegally detained. That she was a prisoner pawn, okay, during the whole Russia-Ukraine beginning of their war. So if they believe she was illegally detained and did not break any of her laws, I'm not saying that or Russians' laws, I'm not saying that she did or she didn't. However, those formerly detained Americans say you have to plead guilty in order to have the negotiations between America and Russia to do a prisoner swap. So we don't know if she even had cartridges packed in her bag. She may have, she may not, but according to those Americans, you got to plead guilty regardless. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand their laws, and I probably never will. And I'm sure their laws fluctuate depending on now the fact that the United States is helping to arm the Ukraine. So I'm sure those laws have changed as well in terms of Brittney's case. So when we start talking about these things, yes, there are rules in place, but there's another country that's like, we don't care about your rules, Jeff. These are our rules, and they might change by lunch. So I feel like that's why I don't know what to say, because I don't know if Russia. They have all the cards right now.
Yeah, they're definitely holding us over to coals as far as Brittney Griner concerned in the trade, because the guy we're trading with is sentenced to 25 years in prison for arms dealing, right?
Wow.
So they're getting out on top on this one, but Biden's got to do everything he can to get Brittney back. I just want to say, speaking of countries, right, we talked a little bit after 4th of July and some celebrities came out kind of disparaging the U.S. a little bit. Me and Stephanie Jones, who isn't here, kind of got into it a little bit. But I just want you to say, this is from Brittney Griner in 2020, talking about appreciating America. She said, I honestly feel like we should not play the national anthem during the season. I think we should take that much of a stand. That's what she felt like in 2020, in July, I want to add, okay? And now this is 2022 in July. Her letter in part to the president says, on the 4th of July, our family normally honors the service of those who fought for our freedom, including my father, who was a Vietnam War veteran. It hurts thinking about how I usually celebrate this day because freedom means something completely different to me this year. So she went through the experience of what life is like in another country or breaking the law in the other country. America's not great. We got a lot to work on, right? But all we focus on is what's terrible. Our freedoms here is what our people die for. And to disrespect those people who put their life on the line for our country, to me, is an insult, right? And that's what we did kind of on the 4th of July. This is a woman who's going through it. A couple months in a Russian prison really changed her patriotism. So I wanted people to see that and know how she feels and how lucky we are to live in this country despite all of our imperfections.
And I think quickly it's good to understand the context that two things can be true. So she can also feel that way because a lot of black people were feeling that way in 2020, specifically after George Floyd was killed. July 4th was a couple weeks after that. And then also understand that we're happy to be here. My dad always told me, I'm proud to be an American. We built this country, black people specifically, as well as other people. And so I think it's important to understand that acknowledging our history plus moving forward and being proud of our country are two feelings that black people often go through throughout their lifetimes.
Throughout their daytimes. Like a
right,
couple
throughout
times
the
a day, yeah.
It's beautifully said.